Hi, I'm Elizabeth Hamblet. I write about and make presentations on preparing students with disabilities for successful college transition. What I'm here to do today is demonstrate to students and their families how they can search around college disability services sites and other parts of the site to see what supports are available. If you are new to this whole thing, be aware that colleges have to provide accommodations, but they don't have to provide some of the supports that students may have been accustomed to in high school, such as access to a learning disability specialist. Some colleges do this for free. Some colleges do this through a structured program. You can look on my website, ldadvisory.com, for more free information about those differences and to learn more about those fee-based programs. But for today, we're just going to do some poking around a website to give you a sense of where to look and what kinds of things to look for. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And I have chosen the University of New Hampshire Disability Services to explore today. So I've done a little pre-searching for you, but I want to walk you through the way I would and the way you could by just looking at any school that interests your student. So first of all, notice that what comes up is accessibility services. Notice it's kind of the first big hit on Google. It isn't an ad, which is important. But you may say, well, what is accessibility services? Some offices don't use the word disability in their name. They use access or accessibility or equity. So the best way to find out whether it's the right place is to click on it. So I love this. How can we help you today? So there's a lot of information on this site. Not all sites are this built out. Be aware that that doesn't really matter. It has sometimes college disability services offices don't have any control over how much they can put on their site. So don't take it as a bad sign if a website doesn't have a lot of information. You can always call these offices and be aware it's a complete myth that if students who are applying to colleges call the Disability Services Office to ask questions, that they will take down the student's name, send it to admissions. Admissions will not want to admit that student. That is all false. And if you don't believe me, on my YouTube channel, there's an interview with Brennan Barnard and Rick Clark. Rick is the director of admissions for Georgia Tech, and you can hear directly from him that that is not true. So anyway, we're here to look at supports. So I'm looking to see what accommodations University of New Hampshire might provide to students. So looking around, I don't see anything that just simply says accommodations, a list. So I am going to try and figure out where to look. So we could look at prospective students, which just means students who have applied and not gotten in, students who are just looking, students who have gotten in but not enrolled. All of them are prospective students, but that's probably more about asking questions. So I'm going to go to the students section. So for students who are enrolled and presumably registered with this office. So here's how to register, how to request accommodations, how they register, but see how there's this little plus sign. I'm going to click on that and just see if it says anything about what the accommodations are. Aha. So here we have different kinds of accommodations. And if this is all new to you, be aware that accommodations at college are not just about academics. There are accommodations for all different kinds of disabilities, including those that affect students' performance in academic tasks. But there's food and dietary, there's housing, there's mobility, service animal, emotional support animals, and transportation and parking. So students will click on whichever of these seems to apply to them and their needs. So I'm going to click on academic accommodations. And what's helpful about this site is it's got a list of possible accommodations and things that they provide. So if your student is looking at colleges that don't provide these lists, you can still poke around other college sites and make a list of accommodations that they think they want to request. So I'm not going to click on all these plus signs and probe for the purposes of keeping this video somewhat brief, but I just wanted to show you the range of things that are possible. There's assistive technology, attendance policies, audio recording of lectures, use of word processor, either for note taking or for test taking, I assume, distraction reduced environment for testing, extended test time, note taking assistance, preferential seating, priority registration, reduced course load, sign language interpreters or CART, and text and print materials in alternative format. So if these are new to you, you can navigate to this site. Here's the URL and click on these and learn a little bit more about them. If you really want to deep dive on accommodations, you can go to my on-demand webinar. The link to that is in the description for this video. And there's an on-demand video I've done reviewing an extensive list of accommodations, what students should know about them, how colleges view them, how you get access to these accommodations, and a number of accommodations that are actually not commonly approved that students may want to know about. But anyway, so here are the academic accommodations, and students with other disabilities or multiple kinds of disabilities can check these out. So remember, I started by saying that colleges don't have to provide access to a learning disability specialist through the Disability Services Office or any kinds of specialized tutoring. So if I were sending my student to a school, I would at least want to know what other kinds of supports were available. So it doesn't seem like Disability Services Office offers any kind of specialists or tutoring. So I'm going to go back up to their search feature and put in tutoring. Oops, first I'm going to spell it correctly. Okay, let me just make sure this is sharing the right window. I sometimes mess that up. No, it looks like we're good. Okay. So there's subject area tutoring, which is what I would take to mean, how do I get tutoring for math or history or science, and content tutoring. So those are interesting to me. See, this says TRIO eligible students. TRIO is a program usually for first generation students, but I'm going to start with the subject area tutoring link. Let's see what it says. Make sure I'm still sharing the right window. Okay. The Center for Academic Resources offers free study strategy support to all undergraduates. For help understanding your course content, your faculty and TA office hours are an important resource. They know what they expect you to learn. If you don't get the resources you need, they may be able to help you find a private paid tutor. So I have not called University of New Hampshire, but it seems to me just by looking that they don't provide free tutoring in specific classes to the general student population and also not to students with disabilities. I'm going to check out their homepage. So they offer academic mentors and educational counselors, and they also have study tips and tools. So let me go through this menu. Academic mentors are just like you. They're undergraduate students, which just means students earning their college degree, if that term is not familiar to you, in different majors who are committed to helping you. They want to know who you are so you can tailor and specialize your support. So it doesn't explain to me what these academic mentors do. It sounds to me that since they're in different majors, like maybe they could help with some content. But I would, if it were my student, I would want to ask some specific questions, and I would contact the Center for Academic Resources to do that. Education counselors, let's see. That's a term, keep in mind, there's no certification like there is, or licensing at the college level as there is for K through 12. So, you know, the term educational counselor can mean whatever they want it to. They counsel students on issues impacting their success and help students create plans to reach their academic goals. So again, this sounds like a certain kind of support, but not necessarily content support. So if your student is struggling in, let's say, physics or in art history, so far I haven't seen a sign that they could get that help from the Center for Academic Resources. Let's see, they offer study tips and tools. It looks like these are ones that students would use independently. Registration resources. If this is your first time registering or choosing classes, they've got resources to help. And these seem kind of self-directed, meaning that it doesn't mean that there's somebody at CFAR who's going to help students. These are tools that they use use themselves. STEM resources. So there are study strategies and content video tutorials for STEM classes, for different kinds of classes. I'll just pick chemistry, stats, again, all self-directed, PDFs or sites or videos students can use, but not necessarily tutoring. Now, TRIO and support services are for students graduating from a four-year university who are the first in their family to do that, or who get a lot of financial aid. TRIO scholars may be for you. They give you a special educational counselor, other classmates or peers who will share their experience, faculty who share. You'll have access to tutoring, time management, organizational skills, and study strategies. So it seems like if students are eligible for TRIO, then they will get content tutoring free of charge. So that is something to be aware of if your student is looking at sites. First of all, be sure to check out all the different places in these academic resources or academic support centers to make sure you haven't missed any place where students could get support. But essentially, it seems like if your student's going to University of New Hampshire, there are a lot of accommodations available. And I do want to go back actually to this because, as I've shown you, it doesn't seem like they get academic support, but I was intrigued by the assistive technology tab here. And I want to have a quick look at it, make sure I'm sharing the right one. Because while colleges have to make sure that students have access to their materials, which for instance would mean for students with visual disabilities or who have reading disorders and are found eligible, we would have to make sure that their materials were in a format that was accessible to them. But colleges don't have to provide them with the software that would read those things aloud to them. Students have to get anything that's considered a personal device, and that's written right into Section 504. But they can do more than that if they want. And sometimes colleges do provide assistive technology, even though they don't have to. So they have assistive technology in their AT lab. They can use that as an exam accommodation. And there's Dragon Naturally Speaking, which is dictation. There's Read and Write, which is text-to-speech software, Zoom Text for students with visual disabilities, and I don't know if it's NVIDIA, I'm never sure how to pronounce that. So they are also available campus-wide in the student computing clusters. Let's take a quick look at that. Okay, so what I don't know from this website, going back here, is whether these assistive technology accommodations are also made available to students outside of those computing clusters, which seem to be physical locations, whether they actually give copies of this software to students for their personal software. And so that is something to ask about. So I hope this gives you a sense of how you can poke around disability services and the support services sites of different colleges. Again, take some notes. It might help your student make a decision about which school they want to attend. If you have a question, please don't hesitate to call the Disability Services Office. They want students to be well informed and have the answers that they need to make a good choice. Don't forget to check the academic support centers that are available to all students. Those can be a key to success as much as the disability accommodations. I hope you find this helpful.